Martin, or Marty O'Donnell, is the musician who wrote the famous ad jingles for products like Mr. Clean and Flintstones Vitamins. They are iconic, catchy pieces that many people know. Believe it or not, though, the same man has been the composer, sound designer, or even the producer of some of the most iconic video game soundtracks to date. My name is Brian Glover, and I will be giving you some insight into the life and career of this personal role model of mine. Born in 1955, Marty grew up in an artistic household playing piano. His father was a filmmaker, and his mother, a pianist. Throughout his schooling, O'Donnell explored many facets of music, including performance and education. He even spent a stint in a progressive rock group in college. Finally, however, he settled on composition and got both his bachelor's and master's in the field. Marty's early career comprised of composing music for commercials like the ones I mentioned before, as well as a couple not-so-well-known movies. His career began to accelerate when he started the company Total Audio with Michael Salvatore. The duo got noticed quickly by some early game developers. After O'Donnell did some very memorable first work as the sound designer for the famous puzzle game Myst 2: Riven, he was commissioned by a different company for a game called Myth: The Fallen Lords as the soundtrack composer. He did such a good job as a composer and producer of that soundtrack that Bungie, the company that hired him for Myth, kept him on for a sequel. After doing another great job, Bungie went right ahead and hired him for their next big project, Halo: Combat Evolved. At Macworld 1999, a demo of Halo and its music debuted, rocketing O'Donnell's career into the fast lane. As a result of the wild success of the first game, Marty was asked to do the music for the sequels, which he did until the franchise was taken over by 343 Industries after the completion of the fifth installment in the series. This left many people wondering what Bungie would do next that could possibly compete with the success of Halo. This question was answered with the production of the game Destiny, which featured a collaborative soundtrack composed by none other than Marty O'Donnell, along with the help of Michael Salvatore, C. Paul Johnson, and the famous Paul McCartney. Anyway, now for the important stuff, his music. The song The Fallen Lords, from the game Myth: The Fallen Lords, came out in 1997. It is quite indicative of fantasy game music from that era. The fake-sounding instruments are right on par with the graphics of the game itself, and give it a vintage digital audio texture. This particular song is a very somber piece that is comprised mostly of the main thematic material. Instrumentally, the piece starts out simply, just a few voices that sound both quiet and meek. Then, more synthetic string instruments layer on top, greatly thickening the sound and continually giving it a more and more melancholy tone. This all builds up to a tense peak at the end that you want to resolve, but O'Donnell does not give the listener that luxury. This music makes you feel despair and desolation, exactly what the player is supposed to feel throughout the early parts of the game as they learn the story of what happened. Halo, the appropriately named track from the game Halo: Combat Evolved, came out in 2001. The Halo theme hits the nail on the head when it comes to how it is supposed to feel. The ethereal, otherworldly vibe hits the listener's ears right off the bat and is then joined by the theme that every game-savvy person knows. This melody is sung by an eerie-sounding group of monks, further establishing a sense of foreignness, the likes of which no one has experienced. After this brief, sci-fi intro, the action ensues with a brisk and assertive, yet still incredibly lyrical mixture of percussive, orchestral, and choral voicing. This mixture of airy, light melody and intense percussion put you right in the middle of a futuristic battlefield. One of his more recent works, The Traveler, from the Destiny original soundtrack, released in 2014. Despite it being a collaborative effort between 4 artists, O'Donnell's characteristic style can be heard right from the start. Similarly to Halo, there is an almost ghostly, soundscape-like quality to the whole song. This song also uses very rich combination of percussive and orchestral sounds with vocals layering over top to project mixed feelings of mystery, tribulation, and triumph. The song is a prime example of one of the more sweeping scores that O'Donnell has contributed to. The rapid alteration of styles and feelings throughout the piece really reinforced the theme of the game, an uphill battle against evil with subtle glints of hope and victory. With such a diverse history in music composition and such a strong collection of work so far, it will be both interesting and exciting to see what Marty O'Donnell comes up with next. This podcast was created by Brian Glover for the Music Technology program at Capital University in October of 2015.